So, this was not the long form video that I was planning to make. If you're new here, I am not a drama commentary channel, and that is not me belittling that community. By and large, I respect a lot of content creators in that community. Until tonight, I was following Dent, Cody Reeds, because I was hoping that I was seeing changed behavior in her. And boy, did I get a wake-up call tonight that change has not actually happened. I was following Hello Leash. I was following... looking for the channel name. The Sixth Sense, because I had been seeing their content and I was finding value in their content. I am part of Peter Mon's community. I am part of Fat Sajak's community. I am part of Adam McIntyre's community. I am part of Paige Christie's community. I have followed a lot of people within the drama commentary sphere for a very long time because, as I have spoken before, I am somebody who struggles with pinpointing manipulation, and when people are using manipulation tactics to harm people because of my own lived experience. Being raised by a narcissist and living with them my entire life, and that is not something that I say lightly, and it is not me just flinging that term around. That is supported by the insight of a trained professional to identify narcissistic personality disorder. So no, I'm not somebody who just takes the word and randomly flings it around online. If I identify traits that indicate someone may be a narcissist, I am going to point it out. That is primarily what my channel is about. As someone who is working on no longer hiding and being silenced by my own very harmful and detrimental living situation. All right. I have endured harm my entire life. And forgive me, I am using censored language because of the YouTube algorithm. I used to work in the medical industry. I did so for almost 20 years. I did not work with patients, but I worked in a support industry to help support frontliners. While I did not work with patients, the last few years of my grandmother's life, I did help caregive her. So that has given me a unique perspective on, to some small degree, what it is like for hospice nurses to take care of people who are in conditions leading up to death. I watched my own grandmother go from somebody who I looked upon more of a mother than my own birth mother, go from being the most loving, kind, and nurturing person in my life to someone who didn't recognize me, and when I was trying to help clean her, help bathe her, help take care of her, had reached a point where her Alzheimer's and dementia had her no longer recognize me. And she would turn violent. She'd hit me. All that other stuff. And I knew it was the disease. I knew it wasn't her. So I have some experience having insight as to what it must be like for hospice nurses day in and day out, which is why I've given a level of grace to Jen Dent than maybe some people might understand. I especially give her grace because I know what it's like to be vilified. I've dealt with that my entire life by my mother, who likes to vilify me to everybody she can to make herself look better. So I can empathize with that, and I know Jen has been fighting a battle and feeling very alone the last several years with all the harm that Gabbie, Hanna, and Gabbie's community has done to her. Justifiably so. She is angry and she is hurt. So I've been patient with her, even though I have pinpointed times where she has said things that are very detrimental and hurtful to others. But Jen, if you are watching this, the world is not your freaking enemy. I know you've gotten some comments from people that have been bullying and harassing lately. Of course you have. There's bad people everywhere. It doesn't matter the community. But by and large, the muckers have supported you. They, like I, have pinpointed when you have used harmful terminology against people with special needs. You talk about your own mental health. You talk about dealing with the trauma of everything you've been through, and absolutely 100%, I believe you. I don't have to have gone through the absolute hell you have because of Gabbie, Hanna to empathize and understand what that must have done to you. But by and large, the people who are calling on you to do and be better are not attacking you. They're not your enemy. They care about you. They support you and they defend you in this situation. With Gabbie, Hanna, they support you. They've listened to your experience. They've become part of your community. I know because I was one of them until tonight. When I saw the language that you have been spreading again online, telling people that they need special helmets. I'm going to tell you, as someone who also worked in the healthcare industry, that if I were an employer and I saw the way that you talk to people online, I would never trust a patient to you. Because if you are that willing to be that vile and disgusting to people online when they are addressing that you are being harmful in your rhetoric and the things that you're saying, I would never trust you with a patient. Because how am I supposed to trust that if you are assigned a patient who cannot speak up or advocate for themselves, especially when they are nearing death. How am I supposed to trust that you're not going to call them the R slur or start vilifying them to some degree in their mental state, in their mental well-being, if this is the way you talk to people online? And it's not just the way that you have spoken to people on Twitter. You say stuff in your own videos that is harmful and problematic and hurtful. But instead of taking a moment to listen to people when they are pointing that out to you, instead of acting like these people who tell others to go out and touch grass and stop being so sensitive, because that's how you sound, even if you're not using those exact phrases and terms. You are behaving and acting in the exact same way. And that's not okay. I'm an elder millennial. I'm in my 40s. I'm in the same age range as Hello Leash. I grew up in the time when people flung around the R slur. I understand your generation because as an older millennial, we grew up with a lot of the same BS. And I think you know exactly what I'm talking about. So I know where your mentality comes from. Okay? I know it may be something that you lived with growing up, but that doesn't mean that it's okay. I truly believe that if you are not in therapy, that you need it, and that's not me weaponizing your mental health. I'm saying this as trauma survivor to trauma survivor. As someone who has spoken to their own therapist about your situation because of how horrified I was on your behalf. I recognize when other people are dealing with unhealed trauma. And they are not dealing with their issues, and they are burying them, and they are keeping moving, and they are being toxic and harmful to other people, especially people who actually care about them. Adam's not your enemy. He made a freaking mistake. Even people within his own community were calling him out on it. I'm not just talking about other YouTubers, I'm talking about the muckers too. I consider myself a mucker. A lot of the things Adam has been through, I can relate to in my own lived experience. And you know what? You can too. That's the sad part. You dealt with Gabbie Hanna and her community. Adam dealt with Colleen Ballinger and her community, of which Cody Rance was a member. Cody, who I was mutuals with on Twitter for a very long time. I liked her. I supported her channel. I was even subscribed to her until tonight too, until I saw her reverting back to harmful behavior that I thought she was moving past. But she's not. She's just starting this BS all over again. When does the cycle end? When does the perpetuation and this incessant cycle to browbeat and attack people who are not your freaking enemy stop? When does it stop? Because if you took 5 minutes to stop being so freaking defensive, you would see how much you and Adam share in common. The only difference is he went through it as a child. And he is not ever claimed to be Colleen's only victim. In fact, he's one of the few who I have seen constantly speak about the other children who were groomed and harmed by Colleen. Shame on you. You're a freaking adult. And this is not me being ageist. I look at Adam as a kid. He's technically old enough or young enough to be my child. You know, I'm like Fat Say Jack with that mentality. I'm like, I'm always going to look at him as a kid. So I'm always going to be somewhat protective over him because I understand a lot of what he's been through. Through that whole situation, I believed him. Through your situation with Gabbie, Hanna, and her audience, I believed you. I supported you. But you are so entrenched at lashing out and screaming at people who aren't your enemy that you're forgetting that you two have more in common with each other, that you should be joining forces. And I commented the same thing to Spence tonight on that god-awful video that they made yesterday. I called them out on their racism. And I said the same thing in their comments that I'm saying to you right now. You, Hella Leash, Cody Rants, you are perpetuating harm. When people call you out on it, instead of acting defensive, maybe take a minute to listen. Because the people in the communities who are calling you out are not attacking you by and large. They are asking you to be better. To do better. Because they don't want to see somebody that they care about, somebody that they want to support against a really horrible, nasty person. Perpetuate harm on others. That's all it is. That's all it is. You're a grown adult. You could technically be Adam's mother too. Right? A lot of the things you went through with Gabbie Hanna, he went through with Colleen Ballinger and her community. What is so wrong with you that you cannot see the mutual ways that you two shared trauma even if they were in different ways at different points in your life. And as a freaking nurse, you should have gone through child development training at some point, right? You should have some knowledge at the way that things like this can impact a child's brain, right? Should have at some point. That should have been part of the nursing training in the curriculum. Stop assuming the world is against you, because it's not. We all are fighting the same battle against YouTubers who use their large platforms to rally their communities to hurt innocent people. Take a step back. Take a couple days off the internet. For the love of God, talk to somebody. Because not dealing with the traumatic events that you have been through is not helping you. And it is not okay to bleed all over the people who didn't cut you. Because they're not the ones who caused the harm. They're not your freaking enemy. I hope that you will listen to the words that I've said with the intention that they are meant. I'm not a black woman like Paige Christie, but I know as a neurodivergent woman what it is like to have my mannerisms questioned and the way that I move in this world attacked. To constantly feel like I have to self-edit, be ultra mindful of my words because people have a proclivity to take them out of context and weaponize them against me. So I know how that feels, and I know how exhausted Paige feels right now. She wasn't attacking you. She was very fair. And if you take a moment to stop feeling like and viewing Paige and everybody as being against you, you would take a moment to listen to the fact that genuinely they care about you and they support you because they're not your enemy. Most of us aren't.